What is happening, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the 182 News Podcast. This is your host, Poppin' Curbs, and I appreciate you making me a part of your day. Fresh off an episode last week, you're getting another one this week. I mean, it's exciting times in Blinkland. Hope you enjoyed the last episode. It felt great to crank one out. I was just so stoked with all of the Blink news. I mean, I had so many people hitting me up in the past week talking about Blink. It's honestly been crazy. Like, my dad texted me. I had lunch with a coworker who's pushing 70 who was asking me about it. I mean, it's honestly just mind-blowing how big of a deal this Blink reunion is, and all these great announcements and the tour announcements. It's just fucking rad. Like I said, it's my favorite thing in the world to talk about Blink. So to see, you know, the vast majority of folks that I know at least aware of it is really fucking rad. So hope you enjoyed the last episode. Got a lot of cool feedback on that. Appreciated the messages and everybody reaching out, even on the personal side of things. That was really cool, and I appreciate you all. That episode dove into the announcement that Tom was back, the tour announcement, basically everything we got on that Tuesday. And at that point, the new song was not out. So I mentioned that I was probably going to try to put together my thoughts on the song that was coming. And this is that episode. So that song was called EDGING. It's out. We knew it was coming out that Friday. In their little kind of teaser, announcement that Tom was back, the little video where everybody was saying how excited they were that Blink is coming, which just cracks me up. I was just rewatching it, and what if all three of them came? It's just brilliant marketing. It's so fucking funny. And at the very end of that, on Tuesday, we got the first little teaser of what Blink in 2022 with Tom would sound like. And it's just Tom coming in where he says, "I ain't that cool, a little fucked in the head." And at the time, I mentioned on the last episode, my head from a production standpoint and from how he sounded, it didn't sound like Angels, not that I would expect it to. But to me, it sounded like the production and his voice that I heard on maybe No More Guns off of Lifeforms, which, I like that song, but I think during my Lifeforms review, it was one that to me felt straight off of his Demos, Odds, and Ends album, which came out, I think it was early 2016, like right when Blink had announced that they were going with Skiba for a new album. And at that time, Tom dropped that album with what he was saying were going to be his Blink ideas, should they continue to be a band together and write. So it's not surprising to me that I felt No More Guns maybe could have been on that. And when I first heard this little tease with this new Blink song, it kind of sounded like that version of Tom, so to say. I like that album a lot. And what I think is really cool about Lifeforms is that song in particular, I don't think that would have made it onto earlier Angels stuff because it just doesn't sound like an Angel song with all of the synths and delays or an extended intro, outro, that kind of thing. But what I pointed out during that Lifeforms review that I think is really cool is I think Tom is at the point with Angels that anything goes in that little playground. So what's rad to me is that Tom felt comfortable enough to put that type of song on an Angels album. And that it didn't matter if it fit or sounded like old school Angels or whatever. So sonically, that's where I thought this little teaser kind of sounded like, as far as how his vocals sounded and kind of the cleaner guitars, a little more upbeat, that type of thing. So obviously I was really curious to hear how this full song would play out. Between Tuesday and Friday, we actually found out that there was going to be a music video, which I'll touch base on a little bit, as well as they actually announced the album. There's no title or anything, but we had vinyl, 4 different vinyl presses put up for pre-order on the website. There was a different variant for each band member, which is rad, and then a standard black version. Ordered all of those. The key there was it said that the upcoming album would be spring or summer-ish. So that's what I said on the end of the last episode. I figured, just timeline-wise, it would make sense to put something out leading into this huge tour right around that time. So, I mean, we're getting a new album. We know that the pre-orders are up, so it'll be here quicker than you think. I want to dig into the song on this. So I think Thursday, typically what happens is as soon as the other part of the world gets it in different time zones, it inevitably starts making its rounds, whether you use a VPN to watch it on YouTube in a different time zone, or if you get a leak or whatever. Thursday, I started hearing more of this song. I was trying to hold off. I think at one point, if you followed them on TikTok, that was a bit of a different clip that we heard Mark on. I'm not on the TikTok, so I need somebody to repost those or share those when it happens, because I don't even know how to work it, don't have it, don't want it. But I think it's funny, some of the ones that I've seen there with the bunny hats that they took off or masks that they took off. And I saw one yesterday where they were kind of poking fun at, like, there was a Blink Reddit post about, if you were management, how would you announce Tom's return? And they kind of jumped on that, and it was pretty funny. But I started hearing some more of this, and in my mind, I was just thinking, oh my gosh, like, I was so curious. Were they going to follow up off of Neighborhoods? Were they going to follow up where Dogs Eating Dogs left off? Were we going to get kind of that perfect blend of where Blink was the past couple years, along with where Tom was with Lifeforms, which was only a year ago? That blows my mind. I saw not too long ago, it was the 1 year anniversary of Lifeforms. And in fact, on my phone memories the other day, it popped up where I was at an Angel show a year ago. And gosh, I don't know why, but that just seems so long ago. And everything has changed so much since then. But that was not that long ago at all. So I played the song, and, right away, I want to break this down. So as soon as it kicks in, we get the little flanger effect on the drums, which is just so Blink. So to me, as soon as Travis comes in, you get that kind of feeling this vibe with that drum effect. You get that bored to death vibe. And to me, that's like, it's just a staple in like a new Blink song at this point. I love it. So from that aspect, I was stoked. As soon as it kicked in, I'm like, oh yeah, this is Blink. We get the little guitar, dun 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 dun. I didn't know what type of guitar we were going to get. Were we going to get, something that was drowned in reverb, or were we going to get something with a delay, or, I had no clue. And that's part of why I was so stoked to hear what these three dudes would come up with in 2022, because again, it's been a long time since they had written stuff together. A lot has changed in 10 years. So we get the guitar coming in, and then Tom comes in. And so Tom leads us off in the new era, on the new Blink song. And I'm just starting to listen to their lyrics and listen to how they sound. And so Tom comes in with, I ain't that cool, a little fucked in the head. So right off the bat, Tom's kind of telling you what he thinks about himself. And what struck me as interesting is it reminded me of his line in Wishing Well, where he said, it's a line I've always loved, where he says, I'm a little bit shy, a bit strange, and a little bit manic. And to me, when somebody asks me about Tom, or how Tom is, or people are talking about Tom and how he acts and his characteristics, there are two things that I like to point out. One is the vast majority of folks who know Tom, and who have I talked to who know Tom, they explain Tom as this. Tom is Tom. He is incredibly unique. There's no one like him. And the best way you can put it is Tom is Tom. I think Mr. T-Shirt said that on the podcast. Several people have said that when describing Tom and how he acts and just the type of dude he is. But the other side of things that I like to point out when people ask is I tell them, Tom tells you right there exactly how he is. I mean, he tells you in the song a little bit shy, a bit strange, and a little bit manic. And I think that sums him up probably perfectly. I mean, he's saying it right there. So I thought it was interesting that he comes in, I ain't that cool, a little fucked in the head. They'll be hanging me quick when I'm back from the dead. I love that, because to me, it's him kind of saying, like, I'm back. Like, I've been away for, I guess, 7 years at this point, even though he still has done a lot of music and a lot of stuff with To the Stars. But I love that back from the dead line. Like, you kind of wrote him off, but he's back. And then what comes after that is he says, get the rope, get the rope, get the rope. And to me, when I was first hearing him say that, I'm like, oh shit. Because to me, that's kind of a subtle, like, fuck you. Like, you say I'm back from the dead. Okay, get the rope. Let's go. And he's just pouring out this like punk rock Tom attitude in this verse right here, because he's just saying like, kind of, I don't give a fuck. And that's how my attitude is. And that's what I'm going to do. And I think that kind of ties into where this song goes. Now, as he goes into the next part of this in the background, I do like the little guitar slides. So you'll hear a dun 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 dun. Gets a little higher on the last one. I really like how that sound. And then really, I should point on it, the guitar tone in general, I liked. It has a little crunch to it. It's a little dirty, which I liked. In the background, the little da 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 da. He says, I'm a punk rock kid. I came from hell with the curse. So once again, Tom is explaining himself to you from his own perspective. So for anybody who's wondering how Tom thinks of himself or his attitude on things, he's telling you right here as clear as day. I tried to pray it away, but I fucked her in church. So to me, that is just, it's the epitome of just that punk rock attitude of, I don't give a fuck. It's like she tried to pray it away. So she wanted to change me. She wanted me to be a different person. And what was his response to that? So I fucked her in church. I did the exact opposite of what she wanted of me, or what the world wanted of me, or however you want to phrase it. This is just kind of how I'm interpreting these things. And then he goes into, don't you know, don't you know, don't you know? And to me, he's just kind of telling you, this is who I am, and this is how I'm going to be. And obviously at this point, I really don't see him changing too much. So just that contrast right there of this is what the world expects of me, and this is what you're going to get. I don't give a fuck, basically, is how I kind of interpret that. I'll do the exact opposite of what you expect of me, and I don't care, because that's who I am, and I'm not going to change at this point. It's that punk rock attitude, which I just love. After that, we kind of get into that kind of pre-chorus, and this is where, to me, it just sounded so Blink, and it was just so beautiful. And that's where I started hearing the guitar tones that really reminded me of like the Enema and kind of that Takeoff, just that clean little guitar tone, that little tom picking pattern that you hear kind of in the background right there. And that's where he comes in. He says, they say you're not safe here if I stay. With a knife that sharp, no way. So again, he's telling you, like, if you're around me, it's not safe from that aspect. With a knife that sharp, he's kind of, even in past Angel songs, has, really alluded to being like a time bomb or a ticking time bomb, that kind of thing. So I just think that it's funny that he kind of sees himself as like this sharp knife that's kind of dangerous. And he's telling you, you're not safe here if I stay. So I love that leading up to the chorus. And then when it goes into that chorus, this is really where I'm like, oh my God, this is so fucking catchy. So he comes in, no way, no, I leave the broken hearted. And I thought it was funny that he used broken hearted again from Rebel Girl. But that's kind of a cool nod to the last Angels album. And then what I didn't hear right away, somehow, when I first listened to this, and it was probably off of clips, I did not pick up that was Mark in the second verse right away. The second part of the chorus, which is interesting. So I love that they go back and forth here. So basically, Tom comes in with, no way, no, I leave the brokenhearted. And then Mark comes in, oh no, look at the mess we started. And so to me, for one, I love that they were going back and forth on their comeback song, because that's something that everybody just loves so much about Blink, is just that perfect combination of Tom and Mark and the back and forth. And a lot of the songs where they do that, my favorite is probably Pathetic, but when they start going back and forth, I mean, you get goosebumps. It's just a beautiful thing, and it's something that we haven't heard in a long time. But it was funny that when I very first heard the clip, and I may have been feeding a baby at 4 a.m. when I heard this, but I did not pick up on Mark being that second hook in the chorus for some reason. And then when it finally officially released and I was playing it loud and listening to it on my headphones and in the car. I was like, oh my God, yeah, obviously that's Mark as clear as day. It reminded me of when Bored to Death dropped, and everybody had a hard time figuring out if it was Mark or Matt singing, which I thought was funny. And then obviously in hindsight, you're like, duh, like it's obvious as fuck who that is. But once I realized that that was Mark, it just took this chorus up even a whole new level, because I was like, oh shit, this is dope. So Tom, no way, no, I leave the broken hearted. Mark, oh no, look at the mess we started. Tom, oh no, I leave the broken hearts this way, what you say, wanna play. So the way that I interpret that is it's kind of like they're coming from opposite directions, which you'll see this a lot with Tom and Mark when they go back and forth. And I think a good example of this is a song off of Dogs Eating Dogs, When I Was Young. And it's one of my favorite choruses from those two. And reason being is it just shows how purely opposite they are and can be. And the part I'm referring to is when Tom comes in and he says, it's the worst damn day. And then Mark comes right back in, it doesn't hurt that much. And I've always just loved that so much, not only because it just sounds rad, it's just kind of knowing how they work together and their history. And it's just the perfect kind of play on words with each other of I'm over here, you're over here, but it just blends together fucking perfectly. So when I listen to this chorus, Tom says, I leave the broken hearted. So this is Tom basically saying like, you know, if you rock with me, I may break your heart, or I'm not going to do what you expect. And then Mark comes in, oh no, look at the mess we started. So to me, that's kind of Mark thinking of things from a bigger perspective, like, oh no, this may affect other people, or this is kind of a mess. Whereas Tom's part of it is just saying, like, I'll leave you brokenhearted, and it is what it is. So I thought that was interesting in that chorus for them to go back and forth like that. And I don't know if anybody else picked up on that or had similar vibes. Again, this is all just my interpretation. This has not been told to me. I haven't heard anything about this. I haven't talked to Mark or Tom about, you know, why they wrote it like this or anything like that. So I thought that was interesting. And then when Mark comes in on that second verse, I just love it. I was, as much as I was stoked to hear Tom, I was thinking, surely Mark has the second verse here. And of course he does. So Mark comes in. Yeah, don't be fooled. I'm only letting you down. They pursue me on foot, but I hid in the crowd like a ghost, like a ghost, like a ghost. And I think this is kind of also a good insight just to how Mark is as a person. You know, he's saying, yeah, don't be fooled. I'm only letting you down. They pursue me on foot, but I hid in the crowd. So I think the way I interpret this is like Mark's admitting that maybe he had let you down, or, you know, potentially could have let you down. And instead of kind of being out in front like Tom is, saying like, I'm a punk and don't care and don't give a fuck, Mark's kind of saying, I hid in the crowd like a ghost, like a ghost, like a ghost, like didn't want to confront it, like obviously cares about it, is bummed that he let you down, but it's happening, it happened, and he's kind of hiding in the crowd about it like a ghost, like a ghost, like a ghost. The next part of his verse, the seats in my car are filled with cigarette burns. I got a fire in my eye, a little blood on my shirt. Let's hit the road, hit the road, hit the road. To me, the way I interpret that is he's just kind of saying that he's flawed. That's how I interpret that. I got cigarette burns in my car. I've got a little blood on my shirt. It's basically just saying like, I'm not perfect, is the way that I kind of take that. And, you know, regardless on the second half of that, it's like, let's go, let's hit the road, let's go. Now, my favorite part of the song is this next part that kicks in. And I cannot get this out of my head. I'm telling you, I have tried for a week. It's not happening. I cannot get this out of my head. And I fucking love this part so much. Mark comes in. I know there's a special place in hell that my friends and I know well. There's a perfect place to go when it's time to lose control. And when I heard that from the get-go, I mean, that line stuck out to me and just made me so happy because it's just so Mark. Like, it's just totally something that only he would think of, only he would say. And it's just a perfect line and part of this. You know, I know there's a special place in hell, And, that's just something for those of you who have never said that. That's just something that, friends, if you're hanging out or, somebody says something funny that's kind of raunchy, throughout the years, people would be like, oh, yeah, there's a special place in hell for stuff like that or for people like that or whatever. And I just think it's so perfect that he says, there's a special place in hell that my friends and I know well. So there's just that kind of funny little place that he can go to with his friends. And he said, and he follows it up. It's a perfect place to go when it's time to lose control. So it's kind of just like that little area where it's okay to whether it just be funny, not like evil by any means, but just that special place in hell that my friends and I know well. And the way that he delivers that and the way that he sings that, I just cannot get it out of my head. Now, something interesting, and I've listened to this so many times, and I still don't totally hear it. But Aaron Rubin asked on Twitter, he said, did anybody pick up on the old Blink Easter egg in this song? And I saw a lot of responses, and nobody was right. And ultimately, he said that the melody of Story of a Lonely Guy was reused at some point. I thought he said it was during the pre-chorus. Now, when Mark is delivering those lines, there's a little bit of da, 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 da. I'm wondering if that's it. But I listen to Story of a Lonely Guy. I've listened to these back to back, and I just don't pick up on it. So I don't know if it's the guitar part. At one point, I was thinking that maybe the clean guitar tone in Edging matches with the bass kind of guitar melody in Story of a Lonely Guy. I've tried dissecting this. If you hear it clear as day, let me know. I'm sure it's one of those things that'll be obvious once it's pointed out and you hear it. But I definitely did not pick up on that and couldn't hear it just on my first couple listens when I was trying to find it. We go back into the chorus. Oh no, I leave the brokenhearted. Oh no, look at the mess we started. And then when they get to that bridge, this is another part that I just love. And I don't know that everybody picks up on this or knows what Mark is saying right here, but he starts out saying nightmare, daydream. And to me, I envision Mark poetically using these together like it's a daydream, but it's a nightmare, which is a beautiful thing. To me, like that's such a simple combo, but I've never heard that, and it's just so Mark, and it's just a beautiful way to start that off. Nightmare, daydream. Like, think of that. It's just perfect. It's perfect. So I love that. And then he's saying, you can't save me right after that. And then what's perfect about that section is Tom is going on top of that with the oh, 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 oh. So it's just really cool to hear that back and forth. It gives me chills. And I saw a lot of folks saying that, man, they were damn near like in tears listening to these two on a track together for the first time in so long. And I think the way that they approached this and the way that they came together on it, obviously splitting the verses, splitting the chorus, harmonizing, singing over each other on the bridge. I mean, it's just a beautiful thing. And that's part of what I wanted to touch base on, last week. And I hope you got out of the last episode is be fucking excited. Like, this is a big deal. It really, really is a big deal. And it's a beautiful thing, and it doesn't happen all the time. And I'm just so stoked for Blink. I'm so stoked for those three dudes, and I'm so stoked for all of us because it's really a rad time in Blinkland, no doubt. The outro, they're harmonizing at the end. Don't overlook that. That is so rad at the very end. Again, Tom saying, I leave the brokenhearted. Mark saying, look at the mess we started. Tom saying, I leave the broken hearts this way. What you say every day, it's a waste you want to play. So the way that I kind of look at that is Tom saying, I'll leave you brokenhearted. Mark's kind of concerned, saying, look at the mess we started. At the end, they're kind of saying, what you say, do you want to play? Like, to me, that's kind of an open invitation. Like, if you want to get into this, you know what you're getting into. Like, they're telling you right there, we are who we are. This is how we are. And do you want to play or not? And so to me, that's kind of a cool way to end the song on that question mark of like, it's almost inviting you to get into what they've already told you will happen, if that makes sense. That's kind of how I interpret that. So I thought that was really cool. I liked Travis's part on this. he doesn't have like a ton of crazy fills or anything that I noticed on first listen. I saw some folks were I guess pointing out that they didn't particularly like his drum tone or thought maybe he would do a little more, but I think it fits the song perfectly. I think the way it kicks in is rad, and then it's simple. Like it reminds me kind of almost like a Ramones or like an old school just like British punk song or something. It's just it's simple, but it's a full sound, and it just does what the song needs. I mean, it's not over the top. It's not, stealing away from any other aspect, but it's dum dum da dum dum da dum dum da dum dum da. And if you listen, and I've watched some drum covers, I mean, don't get it twisted. Travis is going ham on this. It's just a little more of a different approach, and he's being a little more, I guess, picky where he attacks and shows off a little bit. So, I thought it was rad. My overall takeaway is, I thought that it was incredibly catchy. I mean, my first listen through, I already had the chorus in my head. I already had Mark's, Place in Hell line stuck in my head. I thought it was so modern. I mean, I really did. I thought it was so modern and so fresh. And, again, it's really tough to know what folks are going to kind of, come out with all these years later. They haven't worked together in a long time. So I was super curious to hear where they would pick up. So to me, the fact that I really don't think this would fit on Neighborhoods, I really don't think this would fit on Dogs Eating Dogs. I definitely don't think it would, I would typically hear this type of thing on the Cali albums or Nine. And I think that's a good thing, because to me, this is Blink in 2022. So I thought it was extremely modern. I thought it was extremely fresh. I don't know of a song that sounds like this. I think it's kind of a mid-tempo. It was a very like radio-friendly release, even getting down to the timing. It's just over a couple minutes long. So, I hope it does extremely well. I hope, everybody's listening to it on the radio. I hope my mom hears it on the radio and asks me about it. So from that standpoint, I think it's a very safe and refreshing first release. And I'm super anxious to hear the rest of the record with that in mind. For those of you who were wondering who produced it, it was produced by Travis. I'm telling you, Travis is the motherfucking GOAT. And I told y'all in episode 1, Travis would go down as a legendary producer. And in the past 3 years, when everybody was staying inside and hiding and trying not to catch COVID, Travis was going ham and just honing in on his craft, pumping out rad release after rad release. And it makes perfect sense for Travis to produce this stuff. And a lot of fans, you've been begging for this for years. So you got it. Be happy you got it. Mark had said that this is the 3 of them writing in Travis's studio. So we've got that. Aaron Rubin is involved, who he's actually been working with Tom since, I believe, Dogs Eating Dogs. So he's been kind of handling Tom's sounds and engineering and doing Tom's side of things. And, I think it's just a rad time in Blinkland, no doubt. Tom came out the other day, put a tweet out. He said, what if I told you we just made the best Blink album? Now, look, you have to say this on every release. I understand that. Like, I'm not going to come out and say, this is my worst podcast ever. You have to come out excited. But I'm not going to lie. I think there's a damn good chance this could be a very, very, very good Blink album. Now, commercially, will it ever take over everything like Enema or Takeoff or Untitled? I don't know, but that doesn't matter. That's, a long time ago. Be excited for the future. Be stoked to hear the new stuff. For me, the takeaway here is Blink is back, no doubt. Everybody's fucking stoked. The tour, the sales on that have been fucking insane. Like, this was kept under wraps. I knew it was going to be a big deal. I don't know if they knew it was going to be this big of a deal. They are slamming arenas and selling out arenas, in pre-sales. I'm telling you, the past, I didn't have any issues getting a ticket to Untitled anniversary shows at Palladium, which is a small gig. And these fucking 25,000 person venues, the tickets are gone I mean, in a pre-sale in less than a minute before you even get into the room for a chance to purchase the tickets, to get through the queue. So, I mean, next year is going to be absolutely gnarly. I mean, it's just, I just can't wait to start seeing these dudes on stage again. Start seeing videos of them live and hopefully catching several shows. It's going to be fucking sick. So from that aspect, I hope you all were able to score tickets. If not, I know the tickets are kind of pricey out of the gate. A lot of that is because of resellers and Ticketmaster. So for those of you who don't know, essentially everybody fucking buys tickets to flip them these days. And as soon as they buy a ticket and relist it at $500, well, Ticketmaster has kind of a pricing system that is meant to curb that, and it will adjust their prices. Tickets are pretty high. I think they'll go down. I really do. I think they'll go down. I've seen a lot on StubHub that, worst thing in the world aren't too bad, all things considered. I was trying to find a couple shows and wasn't able to score anything. And I'm probably going to have to grab a couple secondhand on StubHub the day of or something, worst case scenario. So I wouldn't be too bummed about that just yet. If you missed out, we're still 7-8 months away from some of these shows. So, I think you'll be able to score a ticket for somewhat reasonable price, but man, Blink is back. And I knew people would be stoked, but goddamn, people are fucking stoked. This is the biggest deal ever. They've been adding more shows. They've been adding back-to-back nights. Honestly, I'm just absolutely blown away. It's just wild. Here I am on my little Blink podcast. I've been down to talk about Blink when there's been no Blink in 3 years or 5 years. And it's just an amazing thing to see how stoked everybody is. And, all of the fans and all the fan sites and Reddit and Mark's Discord and everything. It's just off the hook with just Blink chatter because everybody's so fucking stoked. I do want to talk about the music video. So we also found out that we were going to get a music video on Friday, which I wasn't sure if they were going to have one put together in time or not. It was directed by Cole Bennett. And I'll tell you, this video is fucking rad. So it came out on Friday. There was a live premiere. Now, they said that they didn't shoot that. I think it was Monday that they shot the video, and they had this thing edited, approved, ready to roll and release on Friday, which is fucking incredible. I mean, once again, I want to give a huge shout out to whoever is working with Blink on all this stuff, because the marketing, the promotion, everything on the social media side of things, the music video, everything has been just so even above what I could imagine as being like top tier. It's just been absolutely amazing. So for somebody to shoot that video and get that turned around, and this wasn't just them playing a concert, in a show. Like, there's some rad visual effects. There's a lot of stuff added. It's an incredible video that dropped on Friday, and right away, just to see those three jamming out on what's like a carnival scene, it reminded me. I can't remember what season it was of American Horror Story, but there was one that was based on a carnival, and it reminded me of that scene and that set of just kind of this creepy old school carnival scene. And to see those dudes jamming together with just like bunny mascots dancing around them, which is hilarious. There's a giant skanking rabbit. I would love to see a behind the scenes video of that bunny being built. I think I joked when I saw a picture of it that I wanted it on my front porch just to have year round. It's like 10 feet tall at least. It's fucking huge. I was dying when Tom was kissing the bunny. I thought it was rad when Travis caught that knife, in his mouth when they were throwing it. It's perfect. Honestly, it's one of my favorite Blink videos of all time. Easily top 5, I would say. I thought it was rad that Tom busted out the Boxcar Racer guitar. I put that in my Instagram story. I was lucky enough to hold that puppy, and God, it's a fucking legendary axe, man. And so to see that kind of brought out with Blink, he hadn't done that before to the best of my knowledge. That's always kind of been the Boxcar guitar that he busted out with Angels last tour, which was dope. So to see that, I thought that was pretty monumental. The Blink account asked what everybody's favorite part of that video was, And to me, hands down, when Mark sings that Special Place in Hell line, watch his grin. Go to that part in the video and just watch Mark's smile when he says there's a special place in hell that my friends and I know well. And to me, that just made me so happy. Mark had said that they were just laughing all day on that set. So again, this to me is just, it's such a monumental moment really in these dudes' lives and the history of the band. It's just really fucking cool that here we are in 2022. Everybody's stoked about Blink. Those dudes are in a great place, having the time of their lives. I mean, they've earned this. They're fucking legends. And, you know, I know, obviously at the height of their fame, I'm sure that can be kind of bothersome. Tom has talked about that. He wasn't particularly comfortable with the level of fame that they got to, and, you know, being chased down the mall and not being able to go outside and shit like that. Yeah, I'm sure that's terrible and it's a bummer. And when you deal with it all the time, as amazing as we as fans would think that would be, it can be a burden. And so, you know, that was such a long time ago that I hope they get to kind of relive that, maybe a little bit tamed down version with us all being in our 30s, 40s, you know, not 15, 16 sprinting down the street trying to catch their bus or something. But I hope they get to have a great time and kind of just relive those good old days again, because it's just an exciting time in Blinkland, and the fact that they're all together just dicking around with the same humor. It's just fucking awesome. And I'm so happy for them. So happy for us. I think that's all I wanted to hit on in this episode. So, you know, for me, definitely dive into the last pod. I don't typically drop these this quick, but obviously a lot of stuff to dissect here in Blinkland. So check out the last pod if you skipped it. That was a big one. I mean, it's crazy. Tom's back, and like my podcast downloads are insane. It's pretty gnarly. It's an exciting time. So definitely check out that episode if you haven't. I wanted to break down Edging today. You know, it's interesting. I can't help, and I hate this, but I can't help but try to compare these to kind of the previous releases as far as singles go. And I don't want to go back too far, but let's start with maybe Neighborhoods. You know, do I like this better than Up All Night? It's tough. It's tough. I will say that what I like about Up All Night is I love that guitar riff. You know, I like Tom's riffs. So to me, you know, if there was one minor complaint I would have about this song, it's that it didn't have kind of that lead riffage that I would hear. It just kind of has the da-na, da, da-na, da. And there's no doubt in my mind that we'll get that off of the new album. But if I had to have a complaint, it would be that I don't hear that instant Tom guitar riff. So from that aspect, you know, I really like Up All Night kicking in like that. But I'll tell you what, Edging is growing on me so much. Like, I love it, and somehow I'm just finding ways to love it more and more on each listen. And I can't stop listening to it. I've been listening to it nonstop. Just over and over and over. And somehow every time I listen to it, it just gets better and better. And it's so fresh. I don't know how else to put it. So compared to Up All Night, you know, it's tough. It's tough when you combine different eras and try to compare them, because it's a different time period. And I have memories of Blink being back at that time. You know, if we start getting into, do I like it more than Bored to Death? I don't know. I mean, they're close. They just mean different things to me at different times in my life. So it's tough. Bored to Death is a fucking banger. So that's tough. Do I like it better than, you know, I think Parking Lot was the lead single off of Deluxe. Yes, I do. Do I like it better than Blame It on My Youth from 9? Yes, I think I do. Even though I loved Blame It on My Youth. So it's tough. You know, these are interesting conversations to have, especially with other fans. I called my Blink friend in real life. You know, we've been, you know, going crazy over all this stuff the past week. So we've been talking about it and dissecting it and having these conversations of, do you like it better than this? Do you like it better than that thing? And it's interesting to discuss. But I hate to even go there because I just want to celebrate what we got. I want to be stoked with, where we're heading in the future. So that's my thoughts on edging. I think there's no doubt this is Blink in 2022, which is a great thing. This isn't rehashing, them trying to recapture like an enema sound or, drawing a line in the sand. We're going to go back to our roots with Dude Ranch. No, this is 100% an evolving Blink, very modern Blink 2022 version of it, and I think everybody should be super stoked for that. I know I am. I cannot wait for new music. It's just these little teases. I'm hoping and praying that at some point between now and when the album drops, we'll at least get 2 or 3 more songs. I think we will. I don't think there's any reason to do it this year, but I would hope maybe January they tease us a little bit, maybe March they tease us again, and then we get the new album like in May rolling into the tour and such. That would be my hope. There's no doubt in my mind that we'll get some absolute bangers, some gnarly Tom riffs and such. Because even on the last Angels album, with Euphoria and Losing My Mind and stuff like that, we have extremely identifiable Tom DeLonge kind of riffage going on. And that's not something that you can take out of Tom. So there's no doubt that we're going to get these. But yeah, I was very interested to hear from a production standpoint where we would be on this. We didn't have crazy long intro. We didn't have synths. We didn't really have like delays or anything that would have crossed over from Angels traditionally that you would think. So to me, it's very much Blink. It's Blink in 2022. And that's really the best thing I can say. I mean, that's fucking rad and it blew me away, and I'm going to go listen to it as soon as I get done talking here. So that's all I wanted to hit on today. Curious to hear your thoughts. Feel free to hit me up, shoot me a message. Always like chatting with you all at Poppin' Curbs on Twitter and Instagram, and follow the pod page at 182 News Pod on IG. And I'll talk to you soon. Peace.